and I got sheets and we covered up the washing machines and all that kind of work area, and then the greenhouse is really pretty because of the flowers and the greenery in there, and so we set up tables and had it looking really formal, and we and I went up to Smith's to their the kids decided they wanted some really exotic type fish, and I bought some shark, and I got calamari, and I got some I can't even remember, but they were really different, but I remember those two because we cooked that. We made homemade rolls. We just made it really nice there for their friends, and it turned out really great. It was a lovely night, and we had some of the younger siblings served them. They were the waitress and waiter, and we did a lot of really, just tried to make things there at home a lot of fun. And I know my boys, they ended up thinking, and even to this day they say Lyndall's the center of the universe, because they had more fun camping and hunting and their desert car, and they had great friends. So I think if the friends feel welcome in your home, then, because friends have such an influence on
more influence than the parents in a lot of ways.
Sometimes that you really need to make sure that you know who your children's friends are, and that you have a feeling as to whether or not they're a good influence on your kids, and then you can and if they're not, then maybe that's something that your family could do, is help that young person, because we had some that we weren't too sure of, but as long as they were around our kids and around our home, we knew where they were and what they were doing, and it was even good for them. So
we really never put very many restrictions or even chores on our kids.
Yeah, that was one thing. I always had a job list when I was raising my kids, because Dave and I had our kids quite close together. Within a 10-year period, we had our 7 children, and I think it was 10 years. Well, maybe more like a 12 or 13-year period. We had our 7 children. And Allie and Carol had their kids kind of like 2 families. And there was a 14-year span between the older group and the second group. And so I, in order for me to keep my sanity, I had my kids doing chores. But then when I married Allie, he didn't make his kids do anything. So, they did stuff, but it wasn't, real organized and regimented. And so that, I thought, oh no, I'm not going to make my kids do all the work here. So, and his kids don't do a lot of regimented work, so I guess I'm going to have to do a lot more work around here.
Well, and I did too. But
Allie did too.
The example of us working in that, they picked up on it, and we haven't got any really too bad at housekeeping. Well, some of them maybe a little, but anyway, they like a clean house. They like organization, even though we didn't. In fact, probably more than the ones that was told you got to do it.
Yeah, so we worked that out so that it was. One thing we were able to do though is everybody had a dish week. They had to wash dishes for a week, and we didn't care if they didn't do it right after dinner, but it had to be done before they went to bed, and everybody was really good at that. But as many kids as we had at home, chore didn't even come around. But every few weeks, maybe every 6 weeks, you were on dish duty, so they didn't seem to mind it at all. And
I never had my kids on the farm after Deb, Rick, and Vic. I didn't have them. I didn't have the farm really going much, so. And that's a good thing too, because it's better not to be the boss and a family member too. When they come home complaining about the boss, well, you can just say, "Yeah, that dirty son of a gun." Just chime right in with it.
The pay was the worst part.
Yeah, that's true. But gosh, You know, as long as your kids know you love them, and I don't think there's any perfect way, but as long as whatever it is that you can do to connect with them and know that you love them, and sometimes that's a little harder when you have stepchildren. And you know, we didn't have weekend visits for either one of our kids because I had full custody, and they weren't, and their dad sometimes didn't even live in the state. So you know, my kids were there pretty much all the time, and so were Allie's. And we also decided that if there was a real problem, we usually took care of our own kids' problem, because that can, and you may, and hopefully none of you are ever in a situation like that where you have stepchildren, and if, you know, I don't think it'll ever happen unless somebody dies and they get some stepchildren that way. But we would tend to do the disciplining for our own children, because we never wanted it to. Because Allie told me one time, we did have one incident where, you know, we were pretty upset over someone else disciplining one of the other one's children, and he said, I always figured that if anything ever happened to our relationship, it would be over our children, which is true, because you are very much in love with your children, and you kind of have that mother bear or daddy bear reaction if somebody if you don't feel like they're being fair with your child, and you know, we can still sometimes do that to each other even in an intact marriage, and that's why sometimes you need to just go off and discuss something and then come back united in your efforts. And I always too felt like if somebody felt real strongly about something, my spouse, and I didn't have as passionate or strongly felt that way, then I usually would swing that way, and then maybe I would feel real strongly about something and they'd swing my way, and so I think that's
We haven't really had a lot of problems
well.
that way. It's like your dad said about the pigs. You get up and feed the little pigs and the big pigs, and treat your kids kind of like that. Make sure they're happy and fun, having fun.
They're the little pigs.
A lot of watch the animal world. You see a lot of correct ways of doing.
Okay. Any words of wisdom or advice besides what you've shared already?
Oh, wow, let me tell you. As long as we all show love for each other, there's nothing we can't do as a family.
Yeah.
Don't you think?
Yeah, Sandy's the master of love.
Oh, that's what he tells me.
What are your hopes for the future?
Oh.
Long-term future, as far as the gospel plan is concerned, I think that I can't have a better future. There's nobody in the world that's got a better future. Carol with her brains, and Sandy with her love, and me with my bullcrap. Why, we're in good shape. If I can just keep them happy.
Well, our plans are that we're going to go on a mission, and oh boy, can my mind ever just have fun with that thought. I think it maybe being in Africa with that part of the vineyard, or being in the Orient, or maybe just in Salt Lake. I don't know. Hopefully, I know my parents filled a mission at the Church History Center, but so you know, I'm just willing for us to go anywhere we get called.
Yeah, Sandy's been promoting this for a long time, and it's been amazing how things just kind of come around to. I'm getting kind of excited about it too.
Like the
Yeah.
secret.
Huh?
Yeah.
Like the secret.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's a big thing, because Dad, I have a hard time getting him to go to Provo, so if I can get him on a mission.
I'd rather be horsewhipped and drugged through Lindell on the end of a lariat, and I would go to Provo on Christmas before Christmas.
when the traffic bad. But maybe we'll just have a good pair of shoes and we'll be doing a lot of walking and we won't have to drive.
Okay, and Dad, Sandy shared her testimony yesterday at the end of her video, so we want you to share your testimony.
Do you want me to stay with you?
Sure.
Okay.
You
Well,
can both chime in.
I have a strong testimony. I was brought up in a family. My mother had a strong testimony, and my dad was very active in the church, and both of them.
Your dad was a bishop, wasn't he?
And the high counselor, and for years and years he was on the high council, and yeah, well, and I've been on the high council. I've been a bishop, and I guess my testimony is born from seeing people go both ways, and I think that following the church is the only way to have true joy in the world. That's what we're looking for, joy and happiness. And I don't know how you ever meet the challenges that I've had in my life, that your wife dying and child dying, without having that reassurance that you're going to see him again in the next life. That'd be about impossible. Something that has built my testimony, not distracted from it. A lot of people say, "Oh, we can't believe in a God because these things happen to us." And reality, that should be more of a testimony that the gospel's true. And
Well, we're reading Jesus the Christ right now too. What do you think of that?
oh, it's great. Reading about Christ's mission, and Talmage does such a good job on it, and it's a mission or a testimony building experience. Yeah, I think that if you just stand out and kind of play like you're not in your own body and you're looking from outer space at the world, zeroing in on different people to pattern your life after, anybody with any scientific or managerial type of approach to it would see that the gospel is true, because that brings you more happiness and joy than wandering around without that.
Has it helped any when we read the scriptures, the Book of Mormon? Wasn't that fun?
Yeah, Sandy, she's got me reading the Book of Mormon. I didn't think I've read the Book of Mormon and listened to it on tape dozens of times. Seems like, at least a dozen times. But it's a new experience reading it with your wife too. And you have new insights every time you do. And it's built us closer together, hasn't it?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's amazing. You do that for your families.
Yeah, I want all my posterity to know that we want them to be with us
And in your
in
patriarchal,
that celestial kingdom in the next world.
in your patriarchal blessing, it talks about your some of the prophets and things that you.
Yeah, my patriarchal
Joseph
blessing is
Smith.
pretty wild. When I used to read it, I wondered who that guy was. I have never seen him. I don't know whether he was going to show up or not, but my belief is that patriarchal blessings can be combined, are combined when you marry. Yours and your spouse's become one, because that's our purpose in life, is to become one with your spouse. And like I say, it's I think that patriarchal blessing may come true now that I think of all of the assets I got with Carol and Sandy in there too.
You and Sandy may fulfill Mom's blessing of a mission in the Isles of the Sea.
Well, mine was that too.
Oh, you both were. So.
Mine's in the Isles of the Sea, yeah. Well, that means anywhere on land. And we don't do too much proselyting on the ocean. Every land mass is an isle in the sea on the earth.
Can you give us a few words about prayer and the place it's had in your life?
Gosh, yes.
Yeah, Sandy, she's especially
There are often times when I when I drive up to see Jamie, that I look at those mountains and I think, it says in the scriptures that if we have faith, that we can move those mountains. And it's not, and it even says in there, the grain of a mustard seed, and that is so tiny. So it's not maybe faith in general, but it's the kind of faith that we have. And I think that, and when you have problems, or some of your family members have problems, I have such a testimony of prayer, and I know that lots of times things like patience has to come along with that as you pray, but never ever hesitate to approach your Father in heaven in prayer for anything that you need, even the smallest things. He cares that much that you can receive direction and answers, and you may wonder if you're receiving it, and that's where patience comes in. But I think that when you look back on your life like we do, we say, the Lord has been there every step of the way. And I also heard someone else say that it's like if you're driving a car and it's nighttime and you have your headlights on, and it's like you can't see way far ahead of you, but as soon as you approach an area and you see with the lights on, the headlights on the car, and you can see enough ahead that you feel comfortable proceeding and going on, and I think that's kind of how we've had to do life at times, because we didn't know how things were going to be down the road, and most of us don't get to. And I think through prayer and faith and you can move those mountains. I feel like in a sense we've done that very thing. I know, Nate, when we got some little notes from you kids when you started this missionary fund for us, and he said in there, Mom, with your love, and wrote some nice things about us, and Allie's charming personality, you are going to move mountains when you're on a mission. And I think we've had some experience with that, just with our family, through prayer, and if you do not underestimate even you little grandchildren, your prayers are mighty.
Probably more than some cynical adults.
And if you are afraid, or if you feel like you have some personal problems, or you're worried about your family or whatever, or even your tests, or your relationship with your friends, or you just pray to your Father in heaven, because it works, doesn't it, honey?
Mm-hmm. As for me, I was blind as a bat that time when I started to learn how to weld, and didn't know how to do it without my eyes open. I wasn't using the mask very much, and sunburnt my eyes. Thought I'd be blind forever. And did some praying, and I got through that, but of course the doctor said it'd go away too after a while. But
so you
sunburned my eyes.
You got the burn from the welding?
Welder, yeah. Other times I've had many near-death experiences, and all of them has been the testimony to each person.
And we pray for everybody in our family, don't we?
Yeah, we do.
We pray for all of you.
All the time we pray for our grandkids and our kids and our great-grandkids.
Well, thank you so much.
No.